Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mr. Fluent English.
The place where we help you improve your English and your life.
I'm your host, Paul. Today, we are wrestling with something that trips up almost everyone learning or even speaking English.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about spelling.
Yeah.
That, constant frustration where words just don't sound like they look. It feels, well, kind of random sometimes, right?
It really does. And it seems small, maybe, but spelling correctly, it carries a lot of weight. I mean, fundamentally, it's just writing letters in the right order.
Right.
But get one letter wrong, and boom, the meaning can totally change. Think about desert versus dessert.
Oh, the classic example. Hot, dry place versus the sweet stuff.
Exactly. One tiny Z changes everything. It shows how crucial spelling is for just, clear communication. You don't want people guessing what you mean.
Absolutely. The inconsistencies are just
Yeah.
legendary in English. So, okay, our mission today is pretty straightforward. And we've pulled out four really practical methods, not just generic tips, but actual strategies, sort of based on how our brains work, to make spelling easier, maybe even a bit fun, powerful even.
Yeah. We're trying to get beyond just telling people, memorize this list. It's more about how you can use your brain's visual processing, to kind of override the phonetic chaos of English.
And we promised a magic trick for those monster words. We found this incredible example, flossnessine hillypillification.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Looks like a keyboard smash, doesn't it? But it actually means the act of thinking something is unimportant. Kind of ironic.
It is, yeah.
We'll use our trick to break that beast down later. It'll be surprisingly manageable.
And that word is a perfect example of the main challenge, isn't it? It comes down to English's, well, let's be honest, it's chaotic spelling system. It's orthography.
Right.
We naturally try to spell based on sound, phonetically, but English borrows words from everywhere. It has silent letters.
Yeah.
That approach just fails a lot.
So you forget the order because the sound isn't a reliable guide.
Precisely. You guess, and often you guess wrong.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the first fix.
Uh-huh.
It sounds almost too simple, but the science behind it is fascinating. Tip number 1, read more English every day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my first thought was, well, yeah, obviously reading helps, but what's actually happening in the brain? How does just reading turn into better spelling?
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. It's about something called orthographic mapping. Think of your brain like a huge library.
Okay.
Every word you know has its own spot, its own visual record. When you sound a word out, you're building it from sound clues. But orthographic mapping is different. When you read a word spelled correctly, let's take knowledge with that silent K.
Right, the K.
Your eye sees K-N-O-W, and your brain creates a very specific visual map, like a picture of that exact letter sequence.
So it's like visual pattern recognition taking over from just listening to the sounds.
Exactly that. When you read regularly, books, articles, even just short online pieces, your eyes are seeing the correct visual form of words again and again and again. After enough repetition, you start sounding it out, you just recognize the word shape instantly. And that stored picture helps you override the urge to spell it how it sounds because you know what it looks like.
That's a key distinction for you listening. We're not necessarily talking about deep analytical reading here. The sources stress that even, say, 10 minutes a day,
Just 10 minutes.
where you're just absorbing the text, can make a real difference in your spelling pretty quickly. Weeks, even.
Yeah.
It's like building up this huge visual dictionary in your head that you access without thinking.
And it's efficient, too, because while you're doing that, you're also seeing how words are used correctly, in context. You're boosting your vocabulary at the same time.
Yeah.
It's probably the least effortful way to get that sheer volume of visual data you need for English spelling.
Okay, so passive learning through reading is step 1. Now, let's get active. Let's tackle those really big, scary words. Time for that magic trick we mentioned. Tip number 2, say the word slowly and break it into parts.
Right. This is all about taking something that looks overwhelming and chopping it into manageable chunks, like building blocks.
Building blocks, I like that.
And we're not just talking random syllables, necessarily. It's often helpful to break words into their meaningful parts, prefixes, roots, suffixes, the morphemes. That helps with pronunciation and spelling.
Okay, let's try it right now with our monster word, flossnessine hillypillification. Just looking at it makes my eyes glaze over. How do we break that down?
Okay, first step is slow down, way down. Look for familiar bits, like the ending, T-I-O-N. Super common suffix, always spelled the same.
Right, okay, that chops off the end.
Exactly. That simplifies it already. Then you look for other recognizable parts, maybe a root, maybe prefixes.
Right.
You can slice this one up into floss.nose. ninihil.I-piltidify.cac.
Wow, okay. Flossinocini hilopilification. When you put it like that, it's not one giant 29-letter nightmare. It's like, what, 13 small, manageable bits?
13 little steps. And the power here is, well, threefold. First, saying each part clearly helps you remember it phonetically, in a sense. Second, you write each part down separately. Floss, dot checked, N dot check, O check. You're cementing the sequence. And then finally, when you write the whole word out, you're just putting those small, easy steps together. It's not this huge leap anymore.
So the steps are say the part, write the part, check the part, repeat, then write the whole thing. Simple, but effective. And this isn't just for novelty words, right? This works for everyday long words, too.
Absolutely. Think of a word like information. It seems long. Break it down. Information. Easy.
Right.
Or unbelievable. That becomes unbelievable. You spot those common bits like at the start or able at the end or information.
Yeah.
It turns spelling into something almost logical. You're finding the hidden structure, the pattern within the chaos.
Okay, so we've got reading for general exposure, breaking down big words.
No.
But what about those specific little words that always seem to catch people out? The common errors. That brings us to tip number 3. Learn the common spelling mistakes.
Yes, this is so important because some words are just traps. Even fluent speakers mess them up constantly, usually because a vowel sounds weird or there's a silent letter messing with your ear. You know the ones? They sound perfectly fine when you say them, but they just look wrong when you try to write them.
The sources highlighted a few usual suspects. And yeah, I admit I still pause sometimes. So maybe look at a couple and why they're tricky, not just list them. How about separate?
Separate. A classic. People constantly want to put an E in the middle, right? Separate.
Yeah, I can see why. It just sounds like an E.
It does, but it's an A. It's vowel confusion. The mnemonic device the sources mention, which I quite like, is think of a rat in separate. There's a rat in the middle.
A rat is separate. Okay, that's a good visual cue.
Yeah.
Better than just brute force memorization. What about receive? That one messes with the I before E rule, which itself is confusing.
Exactly. Receive is a big exception to I before E, except after C. People write receive all the time. Here, yeah, the rule itself almost causes the problem.
So relying on the rule isn't enough.
Not really. Better to focus specifically on that CE pattern. Maybe link it in your mind to other C words like sealing or receipt. Visualize that specific sequence after the C.
So the approach is targeted practice, but smart practice, not just writing it 50 times blindly. For you listening, it means maybe making a short list. Tomorrow, friend, definitely.
Yeah.
Separate, receive. Because writing those kinds of words and focus on the one tricky bit, the letter or the sequence, that trips you up, then yeah, write it, read it, say it, maybe use one of those little memory tricks or visualizations. Lock it in.
That systematic focus on why the error happens, that's how you fix it for good. You're actively overwriting that wrong sound memory with the correct visual one.
Okay, and finally, let's be real. Targeted practice can feel a bit like doing homework sometimes. It can get boring. Which brings us to tip number 4. Practice spelling with fun apps and games.
Yeah, we need to keep it engaging, right? We know that consistent practice, maybe 10-15 minutes, is key, but it needs to be low stress.
Exactly.
And the great thing about games, the gamification aspect, is you get instant feedback. Made a mistake. Okay, learn from it, move on. There's less pressure than like a formal test. It reduces that anxiety about getting it wrong.
So what kind of apps or games did the research point to? Are there specific types that are good for this?
Well, the sources highlighted ones that focus on word construction and building vocabulary, which naturally reinforces spelling patterns. Think about games like Word Trip or Wordscapes.
Oh yeah, I know those, where you get letters and have to make words.
Exactly. You're constantly looking at letters, trying combinations, seeing correctly spelled words appear. It reinforces those visual patterns we talked about, that orthographic mapping. You're learning vocab and practicing spelling without it feeling like a chore.
And again, it's that 10 to 15 minutes a day commitment that seems to be the sweet spot. Use these tools, start maybe with smaller tricky words, get the hang of those internal letter patterns, and then you can tackle the bigger ones using the breakdown method we discussed. It makes the whole process feel more, I don't know, achievable and satisfying.
Absolutely. So if we pull all this together, look, learning to spell well in English takes time. There's no magic bullet overnight. But the path is actually quite clear, isn't it?
Hmm.
You read consistently, let your brain soak up those visual patterns. You learn to break down the big, scary words into smaller, manageable pieces. And you tackle those common, tricky words with focused, smart repetition, maybe even using games.
It really demystifies it,
Mm.
doesn't it? It takes away some of that feeling of randomness. So this has been a really helpful deep dive, I think, into turning spelling from a frustration into a skill you can actually master.
Mm.
Which leads us with a final thought for you to chew on. Given how many English words don't follow phonetic rules, how many sound so different from how they're written, and even the rules themselves often have exceptions, how much of spelling success is really about memorizing rules versus how much is it just about that deliberate, consistent exposure reading, targeted practice, breaking words down, essentially training your brain's visual system to override the misleading sounds of the language? That's something to think about as you start building your own stronger orthographic map.